Welcome back, everybody, to the Unlocked podcast. We are three professional business owners, amateur golfers, but
professional business owners,
semi-professional business owners, amateur golfers from around the country, around the world, something like that. Mm-hmm. We are here to talk about all of the failures we've made over the last handful of years running a business, and a couple of successes, and hopefully let people learn from our whatever sort of wisdom we decide to talk about.
Failures we've had in business.
Yes. Or just in life. Like, Chad today had a minor failure. Now he's wearing a green shirt because of it.
Old coffee pants.
Yeah. It's not a first for me.
No.
The worst, I think, I was eating a protein bar or something like that, had chocolate chips in it. Mm-hmm. And I was driving and dropped down in the seat.
Oh, poo pants!
Oh my gosh!
You sat on the chocolate chip.
Yeah, but anyway,
I hate it when that happens.
I heard a great one this week. Okay. I was talking to some folks about the Unlocked podcast, and they said,
"Oh, should we mention that's the name of this podcast?"
The Unlocked podcast.
Unlockedpodcast.com episodes. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And they said, that's Chad, Tony, and Lars, just a bunch of 4-letter guys. And I was like,
4-letter guys.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
All right.
It took me a second to process it.
I remember this because I then started suggesting some other 4-letter words.
Yes, you did it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I know a bunch of 4-letter words, actually.
I'm sure you do. You're pretty good at using them, too.
I think they were referencing the fact that all 4 of us have 4-letter names.
I'm pretty sure there's only 3 of us.
Oh, 3 of us, yes. All 3 of us have 4-letter names. Sorry, my number.
Yeah. You're on the accounting department, I hope.
Round up. Always round up. Yeah. All right, cool.
True.
So, unlockedpodcast.com. Lots of blogs there. You need to check that out.
Yeah, I had a little something to, blog. I can't believe we have a blog.
Another 4-letter word
in my mind.
We're bloggers and podcasters.
So I was chatting with a guy yesterday. We were looking at an expansion. And I have a guy in mind. I'm looking at a experienced school teacher to come in and run the branch. So I've been talking to him. We're going back and forth. And Tony, you'd love him because he's got 50,000 questions.
Oh, must be a great guy.
Yeah, it's.
What is he doing with you?
Well, I was just sitting there, basically like when I talked to you, just yes, no, yes, okay, this, that, yeah. Anyway, so. I was saying, well, we basically will spend about a year, filling each other out, make sure this works. And he goes, yeah, I've talked to people in the industry and, talked to some mutual friends we have. And he goes, and I've listened to your podcast.
Oh, no.
And I was like, we have a listener? First of all, I was floored. I was like, he's like, yeah, I've listened to a few of them, and I think we're quite aligned. So I was excited. I was like, but what about the other 2 dummies?
Are you sure he knew which one was you?
Well, that's funny.
Oh man. Well, yeah, and the one that doesn't sound goofy. That's how I explained it.
Oh yeah. Well, that narrows it down.
Golly gosh.
So he was like, I must have been listening to a different podcast.
Yeah, no, I couldn't believe it. He's like, there's a podcast. I'm like, we had a listener? Yeah. I noticed the spike in revenue.
We went from 4 cents to 12, just like that. It is cool to have conversations with folks, vendors that come in or whatever, and they're like, yeah, I heard you talk about that on the podcast. I'm like, oh, I got to be cautious about what I reference now.
Yes.
Which is great. This is the reason this platform exists, is for us to have these conversations and kind of be transparent with our thought process. I've got several team members that listen on a regular basis and give me critiques on the endings and the openings of the podcast, but also it helps them, I guess, understand the decisions that we're making as well. So I don't know. I think it's a pretty neat platform.
And they told you the only thing worse than the intro is the exit.
Yeah. We have a rough onboarding and rough offboarding, but the middle, most gold. There's absolute 7 gold. Minutes in the middle that's worth it.
Yeah, it's gold.
Perfect.
All right, Tony, you came up with a fantastic topic.
Fun
for
topic
this week.
today. So we're going top 5 tips for value-based selling, and to explain a little bit more, I think all 3 of us position our businesses not competing on price. So we're selling a premium product, a premium service. And I think more and more in our industry, we're seeing people, what's your price? We want lowest bid. We want lowest that, and consumers and now business owners are so focused on price, and especially in the economy lately. So I wanted to just kind of go through some tips and tricks on what do we all do to sell on value and take consumers away from price. I was at a networking event last week, and the manufacturer's rep was talking about, I asked him the same question. I said, what do you do to position yourself to not look at price? And he's like, well, if you're talking price right away, that's where you're getting wrong in the first place. So I think there's a lot of
who said that?
Manufacturer rep.
A manufacturer rep. Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
But
this is also the topic. You guys had a little cat fight in our group.
So
chat,
we
right?
have. I know that Chad and I have a little bit of a disagreement on this. But anyway, so I want to start with just 5 tips and tricks. See what we do to, again, sell on value as opposed to price. So Chad, why don't you start us off?
So I don't know how to follow this format, because you're asking me to give you a tip and trick on something that I may or may not agree with.
I'm asking you to give our listeners a tip and trick, and if Lars or I agree or disagree with you, we will let the listeners know.
I'll disagree for sure.
So I think let's frame this conversation. I understand the concept of selling on value. Mm-hmm. And that is typically what is associated with people that have a higher priced item that they want you to move your attention away from the price and focus on the features or assumed value associated with the product.
That is correct.
So I would also say price selling versus value selling is relative to your target audience or your target customer base. Mm-hmm. Some procurement offices you have zero ability to sell value to because they don't care. They don't really even know what the widget is that you're selling. They're just looking at the bottom line, or they're specifically looking at the line item. So The question comes back to, are you talking to the actual customer that you have the ability to sell on value versus just presenting a price that they are going to make a decision off of? That's a question. First question number one. So maybe that's the tip, is your selling practices or understanding your target market or your end user or your customer that you're selling to.
Hey, I'm not following there.
I was going to say, I could see Tony's hamster running on a little mill here. You want to say that again, Chad?
Yeah. So
if you're submitting a bid off price, you have no ability to sell off of value because you're not presenting the solution. If you have the ability to present the solution, that can be one of your attributes. But at the end of the day, everybody is going to assess the dollar value associated with it. That is a part of the purchase program.
How do you win a bid in that scenario? Like you have a premium product, higher labor rates, higher product you're selling, like a more expensive product you're selling. So how do you win in that scenario?
On what scenario? Where you're just offering it to a procurement office?
Yeah.
You win off price. You can't win off of value unless you have already a relationship with somebody that is submitting those bids with a preference. But if it is just going to the procurement office and they're just making a decision on price, they are going to always choose the lowest bid.
Right. So what do you do? What is the tip there?
Understand your customer. Understand who your price, who you're selling to. And if you're if you're trying to go on the value route, then I guess the tip. Okay, let me try to rephrase this a little bit differently, because I've been so frustrated with this theory for quite some time. If you want to sell on value, then be a better salesperson. That's my tip.
So you just completely 180 there.
If you're going to sell on value, you have to be a good salesperson.
Okay.
Because if you're not able to get in front of a customer and influence their decision, then they're always going to buy on price.
That's fair. Yes. I think I would take a little different spin on this, but I agree with what Chad is Ugh, it almost came out of my mouth. Oof.
That joke might be getting old by now. We've only used it like 40 times.
What's that?
Nothing. Just going.
A little saucy this morning.
Yeah.
Who hurt you?
You.
Tony's a little sparky this morning.
Ugh. I think you just got him fired up because
you haven't hurt
like
me. You've turned me into a cynical little.
Tony didn't like that answer. He's now out of sorts. Okay, Tone. Maybe have a bite to eat. That'll get you cleaned up. What I was gonna say before you snippily cut me off there. The trick that I use in that scenario is everyone wants to go apples to apples, right? That's what a customer is trying to do, is compare apples to apples. And if they only want price and they only look at that, I will generally make that a challenging exercise to compare apples to apples. So because if they don't want to have that conversation, what Chad is talking about, they don't want to have the conversation to discuss the solution, to discuss what are they trying to resolve. They just say, I want this thing, then I will give them just this thing. And it happens in RFPs all the time. There's a whole industry based on this contract hardware. It's ridiculous. It is way more expensive for everyone. The customer doesn't get the best solution a lot of the time. And it is completely influenced by, other factors, manufacturers, specifications that all have interest in selling products more than creating the best solution. Now, that's a blanket statement. I don't mean that about absolutely everyone, but, we will see in RFPs that the customer will say that they want this solution or this widget, right? We know that widget isn't going to fix the problem because they're missing something, or it's like, they have an access control system, but they don't have an electric strike on the door. But they just want just give me the price for the readers. And then, so they get the lowest price. Then they realize, now we need electric strikes on the door, and it's going to cost us thousands of dollars more. So what I've done in these scenarios, it's like, okay, well, if you want the best price, I will give them the best price, but I know when they want the real solution, that's where we're going to make some margin.
Yeah.
So,
but here's another factor of that. And this is the thing that I think is frustrating about this particular part of the topic, because manufacturers always go back to value over price because they want to try to sell it at a higher price, which makes sense. And I'm not in disagreement with that. I'm just saying you don't always have the option to give the value pitch.
Right.
And a lot of products meet the minimum viable specification. So an RFP goes out, it says it needs to be this type of widget that does this type of thing, that fits on this type of operator, this type of opening, and has these specific things that it does.
Literally, I want this SKU.
Correct. And they want this SKU. Or there's a dozen products out there that fit the bill for the specifications that they offer. Now, we as industry folks know that these 3 products are actually going to perform significantly better, even though they cost more. These other 9 products are going to do the job, but they're going to fail more rapidly than the other. Okay. Yeah. That's what we know. Now, the price difference between those are going to be drastic. And when it's submitted on an RFP, the customer, all they see is, does it check all of these boxes? A procurement office is not an expert on our hardware.
Right.
They purchase toilet paper and HVAC systems. Like, they don't have any clue what any of them are. They're just, does this meet the minimum viable requirements? And that's the part of it that I think is kind of misconstrued, because you don't have the ability to influence that buyer.
Yes.
Because they don't know the difference. All they see is it appears to them that it is an apple to apple comparison, maybe not the exact SKU comparison, but a feature functionality direct comparison.
Yeah. So you're saying, know that situation.
Yep.
Realistically, most companies, small locksmith companies on RFPs, when they say, I want this widget specifically, you aren't going to win that. That's just reality.
Most locksmith companies?
Yeah, about smaller locksmith companies. Because who's going to win that? Either manufacturer direct, wholesale, contract hardware, these companies that sell huge volumes. And those ones, they're almost a waste of your time and focus. Now, if there's a service component, if there is a component that you can talk to the solution, I think that's also what you're saying, Chad. Those are ones where, you can add value that isn't a specific product. Those are the ones that we focus on as a service company.
Yeah.
But a lot of the RFPs that are out there, it's like, we'll go in and we'll bid something. It's like, who are we bidding against? It's like, oh, we're bidding against the company that we buy it from.
Yeah, that's right?
That's not going to work.
That's a whole probably different layer of the conversation. So to clarify, Tony, what you're asking is like if we're ABC Locksmith Company and we're going to John Bob's plumbing store and we're trying to sell them a camera system, access control system, or new locks. So it's local business to local business. Is that what you're referring to? Is that the concept that you're kind of
in general? Yes. Like how do you shift in a world that is dominated by price? We did a podcast a couple months ago talking about making sure you're charging appropriate labor rates and effectively raising prices. In a world where you're trying to charge enough to support your business and make it financially healthy, how do you complement that by moving consumers' attention away from price and focus it on other items to compete, right? Like, we're not trying to always be the lowest price person. We literally just talked about that a couple months ago. So
in that scenario, this is where, this is a whole kind of a different vibe. And that's where I go back to being a better salesperson.
Okay.
All right. So you walk on site. Number one, can you figure out what that person's major pain point is or what their driving decision factor is?
So I guess maybe that's a better topic. How do you be a better salesperson? Like, specifically be a better salesperson in relation to competing on value. I think.
All right.
Well, so Tony,
that can be a whole different conversation. I can drive with that conversation.
Yes, that's what I'm looking for here. Is how do you move in a project-based situation or even a service call situation? How do you go into a customer and say, we might be more expensive, but now maybe you're not going to be quite that blunt, but I've done that before. And again, when we're I had a bid. This was probably 6-7 years ago. Yeah. Walked in and I asked the customer, what are you looking to solve here? And she's like, oh, I got this other bid. I need another bid. And I said, can I see the other bid you have? And she showed me, and they were using low quality products. And I told her, I said, we're going to be quoting a much different system. It's going to be more expensive, but you're going to get X, Y, and Z. And
this is why
bid came in probably 40% higher than the other one, but they went with it.
Yeah.
So that's the type of things that I'm talking about here. Like, how do you?
Yeah. Like, I think where this started, right, was you had a bid or you were on a project and, the customer had something else that was like half the price or a third the price of what you went in at. Right. Because you shared a screenshot of this.
Yes.
And then Chad was playing video games. And so he was giving you short answers, which was annoying you.
Correct. Very much so. And that's kind of being like you.
Right. Yeah. Or he was busy living his life and didn't.
Anyways.
So that's the scenario that's prompted this.
Yes.
And Chad was like, I think his response was like, well, be a better salesperson. Something along those lines. You didn't love that answer. But I think that's where we're coming from.
That was not his answer. His answer was completely, he diverted the whole question and just went on this long tangent about how quotes, he was just being smug. It's just people don't realize that about Chad.
I love spicy Tony.
Yeah.
It's like, child who hurt you. Tony, I'd like to give you a little hug right now. Maybe I'll text your wife. You're in the sauna. I bet you Dean's there. I'll text Dean. Walk in mid-podcast, give you a hug.
So anyways, so what I'm getting at here is, gosh, this is the world's longest intro to get to the root of the question. As a salesperson, how do you position, what are some tips to position sell on value? I mean, my original question still remains: how do you sell on value and not price?
I think the thing that I might get hung up on is the term value, because it may be a trigger term for me. But
value does imply low cost.
It's relative to whatever the conversation is. It's a diversion of
5 tips and tricks to not focus on price, to make consumers not focus on price.
I don't think that we're gonna get 5. Okay, so here's where I would go with it, just to kind of give you some feedback.
That is a big sigh. But
it was. Yeah, it was awesome. Okay, let's start from this.
All right.
We get on a job site. We go to visit with a customer because we're selling small business to small business, local, and we're going to be bidding against a couple of other contractors. How do we set ourselves apart from those other contractors? Is that what you're trying to get to?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Who cares about value? How do you get to the point of selling? It's not the value proposition. It's how do you get to the point of what that individual's what?
It absolutely is your value proposition.
Okay, use whatever term you want. How do you get to the point of understanding what that individual's driver is and how you appeal to that? That's ultimately what it comes down to.
Right.
So you're gonna get on a job site and there's gonna be somebody that all they care about is cost.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta take this and I have a certain budget I got to get to, whatever. You got to understand that early on, because that's going to be a component of how you go in there and sell. Another one is we've got regional guys coming in 2 weeks and we've got to get this project done. And I don't really care how much it costs. They're not going to say that, but we have a short timeline. We've got to get this done.
Right.
Their driver is time. So how quickly can you get in there? How quickly can you assess it? How quickly can you get them a quote? And how quickly can you commit to actually getting the job installed? At that point, the decision is made on time. It's not made on price.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody can come in there and underbid you by 40%, but it's going to take them 6 weeks to get it done. It doesn't matter. You're going to have people that you're going to go in there that are going to be they want the flashy, they want the new technology, they want a spectacle. Well, price is not relevant to them. They want whatever bells and whistles that
whatever is best.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. And this is the cheaper, faster, better.
Yeah.
Is what Chad just said, right? And those drive consumer decisions all the time. And one of the things, going back to a tool I would use. So we hired a sales manager years ago. Ended up being the worst timing ever. I don't know if you guys remember 2020. Something kind of happened that disrupted the world for 2 or 3 years. But we hired a sales guy about 5 days before COVID lockdown started. So it wasn't great timing. However, learned a lot of really cool tricks from him. The first one he always talked about was BANT. I'm sure you've heard of BANT, the acronym BANT. BANT, it's qualifying. And this is part of what we do all the time, because realistically, your company is not going to win every bid. Or every job, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just not the way it is.
Because not every customer is your ideal customer.
Right. So BANT is, the first thing is budget. If somebody asks about a solution, it's like, we want to get a fob system. It's okay. How many doors you're going to, okay. Well, it's about $3,000 a door. That's a good ballpark. That's without knowing. And if they're like, ooh, right. Well, instantly, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, okay, because and then we can start talking about, well, if you want a fob system, I'm not sure that. So budget is the first thing. Second is authority. I think that's, Chad, what you were talking about. Authority is, you're
making the decision.
Yeah. It's like, I'm doing this for my boss. It's like, okay, let's talk to your boss. Start asking
or
them.
What's important, or what's important to your boss. What is he trying to solve?
Yeah. Yeah. And then we were just at one the other day, and we were, talking to an engineer, and I was like, I just got the sense of like, did your boss ask you to do this? Yeah. You don't say. And let me guess, you love card access. He goes, I really couldn't care less. And this is the fourth time I've done this. It's like, okay. So asking these questions, Third one is need. Is this an actual need, or are they just exploring it? Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to qualify ahead of time. Last one is timeline. And I think, Chad, that's what you talked about. Timeline faster. If you want it faster, that's fine. It's going to cost more. That's all there is to it. Yep. So Bant is one of the qualification tools that we use all the time. That's a tip or trick. I'm going to jump to a second one here unless somebody has something else, because I'm just thinking of what Chris used to do.
Well, let's break that one down a little bit, because you said a couple of really important things on the individual that you were mentioning, the engineer or whatever. That's like, I'm assuming you mean like a building engineer, facility manager.
No, he was literally an engineer for a manufacturer, but he was like the youngest guy in the company. So they're like, hey, kid.
He was just assigned to do the task, right? So in my opinion on that is understanding, and when you talk about selling to that individual, the biggest part that you're communicating to him is how you're going to make it easy on him to get this done. Like, so that's not an individual that you want to toss a bunch of information to and say, well, here, you need to do this research and you need to make sure this works and this and this and this and this, because he's already checked out. He doesn't really want to do it anyway. So that's an individual you come to with their proposal and say, this is all the information that I've already checked all this. Here's everything ready to go. You take this to get approval, and it's a turnkey system. You don't have to interact with any other subcontractors. You don't have to interact with anybody else. You got us. We're going to make sure that we get this started and finished for you without you, and we're going to be one person to contact.
So question on the budget one. I think that's an interesting thing, because I feel like in our industry, a lot of our target market doesn't know what our stuff costs. Like, it's a little bit different to me because, for instance, you use the car analogy, right? If you want to buy a Honda versus a BMW, you're in a different budget category, right? But I don't think people understand the differences between let's say, Brevo card access system and a entry level name your whatever. Like, I don't think consumers have that level of understanding. There's not, consumer reports out there doing, this is the premium product, this is not. And I think a lot of our customer base is uneducated on A, what this costs in general, and B, what is the difference between a Brevo and a name your product.
And that's the exact point of the question is, $3,000. And if they say, yeah, that sounds about right, versus,
right. But they may not know that. Like, they may, I think it's interesting. You're moving the focus away from their need, as opposed to, like, they may just think, this stuff costs $200 a door.
Right.
So it's an interesting first question to ask, because personally, I would focus more on what are you looking to solve? And if they say, well, we have this huge issue where employees are,
so that's,
we have a lot of turnover and our employees are doing this, and this, they may not know what it costs. So by all of a sudden you're taking someone who has the need, but they say their budget is only, $1,000 a door, but they still have the need. So I feel like you could be missing some audience there.
Well, that's a different scenario. That's when they say, I have this problem to fix. I was talking about specifically, I want a fob system. I want a fob system. Okay, it's going to be $3,000 a door. Oh, that's too much. It's like,
right, okay, but why do you want a fob system?
But going back to the selling process, and Tony, what you're just asking is if you understand that it's because they have a high employee turnover and they're trying to secure facility and this and that and the other, then my natural next question would be, do you guys have any idea how much it costs every time you have an employee turnover?
Right. Yeah.
And now you've created an equalizing value. Oh yeah, it costs us $8,000 every time we turn over an employee. Do what?
Don't say value. Equalizing value, Chad. Come on.
Then you have the ability to go in and say, it's say, okay, cool. Well, here's the $500 a door option, and then and this is what's going to be involved with it, and your kind of regular involvement, your regular time that you have to spend. Here's the $3,000 option, and this is going to solve this problem for you. And if every time you lose an employee, it's $8,000, then it's easily paid for. It's over X number.
Yeah,
this is
that's the selling part.
There's interestingly though two scenarios where budget comes into play. One is I think this costs $1,000 and it actually costs $3,000. The other one is you're $3,500 and your competitor is $3,000, right? So there's a perception of what does this stuff cost, and then there's also
but this is the thing that I guess this is probably where I got triggered when we were having this conversation before. Is if you've gotten to the point in the conversation where they're coming back to you saying your competitor is this and you're this, you already probably lost the sale because you missed an opportunity to give your value proposition or whatever it is that you want to call it at the sales pitch. Like when you're there gathering information, that's how you set yourself aside. Awesome. Here's what we're going to do. This is how we go about things. Blah, blah, blah. Here's our process. You're going to get a proposal in 24 hours.
Oh yeah, I don't disagree with you. That's what I'm asking for. What are those tips? What should you be doing as a salesperson?
Well, first of all, you need to be a salesperson and not an estimator, because some of the stuff that you're talking about is just somebody that's giving somebody a price and an estimating. They're not actually selling anything. Okay. So selling is one, showing up, communicating the reason that they would want to do work with your business. Like we have X number of team members. We typically turn our projects within X number of days. We have an average of this percentage of failure rate. We respond on service calls within X number of hours or X number of days. We have blah, 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 whatever those things are, because I can look at price. Okay, cool. This other company can do it for less, but they only have 3 employees. And so their average days to respond is going to be 7 days. So I could be 7 days down without my system. This company over here is a little more expensive, but they respond within 8 hours. That's service after the sale is huge.
Right.
So you're giving them all of the reasons why your company is superior by effectively telling them, we answer our phone calls within 27 seconds. We're out on a job site within X number of hours, so forth. You're giving them all the stats and information around why your company is better.
Right. Yeah. And you speak to exactly what your strengths are. Right. Once you understand what their need is, you speak to their strengths, and that makes a lot of sense. Another thing, I'll go back to Chris, another thing I learned from him that I use all the time. It was, we were walking into a building, and, one of the classic things in our industry is you get the phone call, my door isn't working. My door's not locking.
Yeah.
Cool. So our guys, I swear, will walk over dead bodies and every broken door in the world to walk to the door that they're going to fix. Right?
Pick the falling door up off the ground and move it out of the way so they can get to the other door.
There's a burning building, but they'll just walk right through that burning building to get to what they're there to fix. Right? So it's this exercise that I've preached all the time is to be aware, looking around and have the opportunity. And this isn't sales. This is, they've called you because you are an expert. They are paying for your expertise. So go there and be an expert.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so we get there and we're walking through this building. We're there. I don't remember why we were there, but we're walking through and we're with the maintenance or the operator on site, and we walk through, and all their doors have automatic, like handicap doors, right? They have automatics on them. And Chris says to the guy, he's like, "Oh, hey, you got all these automatics. I don't think we don't manage that for you. Like, we just do the key system." He says, "Oh no, we got, I don't know, Stanley or something. And yeah, they're great." And Chris was like, "Oh yeah, cool. Cause we do that stuff too." Anyway, we keep walking along, and, I think we're going to get a coffee or something. He's like, that's awesome about Stanley. You said they're great. Like, what on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you like give them for a score? And the guy's like, "Oh, well, certainly a 7 or an 8. And Chris is like, "Oh, cool. So what else, what would they have to do to get to that 10? What are the little things that would get them to the top?" And the guy immediately starts saying, "Well, sometimes they don't show up on time. Sometimes they don't call. Oh, it really bugs me. They're actually pretty expensive. Some of the guys don't really know what they're doing." And he just started listing off
all of his complaints.
And then Chris systematically wrote them down and was like, "Oh, well, this is what we do. Our response time is this. This was, and he just spoke to it all of basically everything the guy just told him. And we walked out of there, and the guy's like, yeah, give me a call, and let's set up a look at all these automatics. So that went from, nah, I don't want to talk about that, those guys are great, to a complete 180, saying, yeah, come back and let's do business. It was just, it was just a simple little trick, I would call it. But that was an experienced sales guy. And I I walked out of there with him, and I was like, what just happened?
Well, and it was probably genuine too. That's another big thing. Like,
curiosity.
You've got a lot. You have a lot. Over the course of my career, I've had an opportunity to do project walkthroughs with multiple companies, and so they have these cattle calls where everybody shows up to look at a particular project, and you get to walk around and talk to people. And it is pretty easy to sniff out those that are genuine and those that are just trying to sell you something. And customers sniff that out too. So yeah, it's just kind of be genuinely curious, but genuinely helpful.
You're trying to help. Yeah.
Here are the things that I know. Like, okay, you've called us out here for this particular problem. Here are a couple of other things that I noticed. This one may or may not necessarily be your priority right now. It looks like, we walked past 4 doors that had oil dripping down them from the door closers. It maybe you need to get those fixed before we even talk about the access control, because that's an issue. And just kind of trying to show additional that you actually have the customer's best interest in mind. But when it again, talking about sales, how to be a better salesperson, there's so much in that initial interaction with them. If a customer is just trying to get the lowest price, then that's probably not your customer. So I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on that.
Unless that is what you do.
Sure.
Unless you sell knockoffs from China.
Sure.
But my question there is still, is there a way to shift them from being focused on low price?
Is there a way to shift a customer?
Can you convince them that you're going to provide an additional service?
So I think this goes back to what Chad was saying of what is the reasoning behind why price is what they're talking about. Everyone wants a deal, right? Chad's talked about this. The seller's job is to get it for cheaper. The buyer's job, I think that's backwards. Yeah. The buyer's job is to get it for cheaper. The seller's job is to get it for more. Yep. That's every scenario ever. Why are rich people cheap? Right? It's about getting that deal. But if you can understand why, maybe they only have $1,000 in their budget. That's why they're so focused on price, because that's all they have. Or is it just they're just trying to get the best deal, which I'll use the word value relative to cost. Maybe that's what every buyer, that's what they're supposed to do. But once you understand that, and if they are just trying to get value for cost, that's your opportunity to speak to why what you are selling costs what it does. I would use Loc-Doc, so I'll give them a little plug here. The value that they get. Okay, so Loc-Doc is not going to be a value provider, low cost provider, right?
This is why Chad doesn't like the word value.
Well, that value brands, that means cheap, right?
Yes.
So
I'm going to value engineer this. That means I'm going to
make it cheaper. So
okay,
but what does Loc-Doc do? I think of the QR codes. Okay, I just had this conversation. So why our labor rates are $135 an hour? Ooh, that's high. It's like, yeah, but this is what you get. Okay, you also get a QR code that sits on your door. So at any time you want, we're going to go up there and scan that door. It's going to show you every time we've been there, all the work we've done. It's going to show you how many times we've been there. We can actually calculate how much money you've spent on each one of your openings. We can help you, work on your capital budget, right? All of these things. And now, people, the answer to that is, oh, that's amazing. That would save me so much time. Yeah, it's going to cost you an extra $15 an hour, but this is what you're getting.
Yep.
So
every time to lean on that, it's just finding whatever your unique offering is that makes you just that much better than other companies out there. And you're not even focused on the negatives of other companies. You're just showing, we know this is a pain point in your industry. We know this is a pain point for your for your roles or responsibilities. And so we've figured out a way to make it easier on you. And it's crazy. Just the QR code itself. We've pitched this to property managers on the residential and commercial side, tons. Yeah. And what comes out is, hey, we have run into situations for years where you're a property manager and you sit in a building 30 miles away from the property that you've called us out to. Yep. And you say the back door isn't working. And we show up and there are 3 or 4 or 10 back doors. Right. Well, our process is we put a QR code on every opening that we service, and now we have a unique identifier. So we can show you the picture of the door, we can verify it's the correct door, and we can reduce the amount of time and energy of having to drive across town to tell us and point out the door, because we can identify that for you.
Or paying us to wander around.
Correct.
And it costs you $45 for us to wander around to find the right door.
I've never had a property manager that says, "Oh, that's not valuable." And at that point,
that sucks. Right?
Why in the world would you choose another company to come do the work? Because you are providing them with a superior offering down the line for just a continued service.
Yeah, and whatever that is, like you've built a platform or a service or a thing that customers want. You found a niche, you found something that would make their lives easier. And now it's we're not talking about the price. The extra $20 an hour isn't going to be, the sole focus.
All right. So real quick, we're going to take a break on this episode, and for 2 reasons. One, Tony has to relocate.
I want to just take a moment here and just enjoy the serenity of no Tony for a minute. Can we just, everyone listening, just enjoy?
Tony is a massive element to this podcast. He's a massive
something, yeah.
So
this is just so nice right now.
I don't want to get too used to it. So he's actively relocating from the sauna to a new location because of some safety concerns inside of the sauna, and so we want to really have kind of a continuation of this conversation. So the first part, this first episode, we really were talking a lot around effectively kind of sales strategy conversations, how you differentiate yourself and all that. Yeah. We're going to take a break. I think we're going to try to dive into some more, I don't know, maybe controversial topics around pricing.
I'm looking forward to you two arguing because I know that's coming.
Oh boy. Well, we'll see. So join us next week for part 2 of this conversation. And it's really not even part 2 of a conversation, because I think it's going to probably be 2 distinctly different conversations. One around kind of sales strategies, and then the other one around how do you validate pricing, or what is your methodology around pricing structure? So that's what's going to be on the next episode of the Unlock Podcast. You can join us on our website, unlockpodcast.com. All the information is there, so check that out. And then we'll see you next Thursday morning for the next part of this conversation, and hopefully Tony will resurface out of the sauna. We'll see you next time.